Welcome back, hyperspace fans. In this episode, we'll be discussing what if Anakin kills Palpatine. We start this episode where we left off. Anakin and Palpatine are currently in the hallway inside the Chancellor's quarters. Palpatine has just revealed that he knows how to save Padme. Anakin pauses and thinks for a few moments, thinking he never actually said anything about Padme dying, so how could Palpatine know? Was this a trick played by the Dark Lord of the Sith? Or was he just being a caring friend? And could see that Anakin was troubled by something. He always knew that Padme and Anakin were married, but he chose to keep quiet about it because he didn't seem a reason to try to upset Anakin in any way. Anakin's heart starts to pound as seconds feel like they're going by really slowly. Palpatine starts to walk down the hallway and pushes a small button on his wristcom that starts a recording inside the Chancellor's quarters. Anakin, still frustrated at the thought that Palpatine could be the Sith Lord that they are looking for, grabs his lightsaber, runs up to the Chancellor, and impales him from behind. In a second's notice, the Coruscant guard busts through the Chancellor's office and look for what has happened. The recording shows that Anakin Skywalker had executed the Chancellor. However, there was no audio, so no one could really determine what was being done, or what was being said. All they could see was that Anakin was the last one with the Chancellor, and before he was cut down. Anakin, avoiding the multiple patrols of the Coruscant Guard, makes his way down the Senate building to the landing platform so he can get to the Jedi Temple and explain to the Jedi what happens before the Senate has a chance to react to Palpatine's death. As Anakin is on his way towards the Jedi Temple, he notices all around him that his face has been plastered all throughout the city of Coruscant and the underworld. Nowhere on Coruscant is safe. So, he makes his epic disguise to try to get himself into the Jedi Temple without being spotted by the Coruscant Guard patrolling the temple or the remaining clones around Coruscant. So guys, this is just a small edit. I also forgot to put in the police droids that patrol Coruscant. Anakin is greeted by Mace Windu inside the temple hangar. Now, Windu was not one who really liked Palpatine. He always saw Palpatine as more than what he really let off to be, so he didn't blame Anakin for anything. However, it was still a crime, but he was on Anakin's side for right now. As Anakin and Windu make their way up to the High Council room, Anakin explains to Windu that Palpatine was the Sith Lord. All the proof is in his office. We just have to get up there and look. Windu explains to Skywalker that it's best to stay quiet until we get up to the High Council. Again, Windu is on Anakin's side. He does not blame Skywalker for doing what he did. And in fact, Windu probably would have done the exact same thing if he were in Skywalker's position. Meanwhile, back at the Senate House, Admiral Tarkin is explaining to the senators aboard the Judiciary branch that the Jedi have tried to overthrow the Republic. By killing Palpatine, they disguise themselves as liberators. Instead, they're supposed to be peacekeepers, but Palpatine is the one who's used them as soldiers, so some of the senators don't agree with the Admiral's statements, but a lot of them, most of which are Palpatine loyalists or Palpatine supporters, do in fact agree with what Admiral Tarkin is being. Admiral Tarkin, along with Mas Amedda and a bunch of Palpatine loyalists, decide to push for a vote in what to do with the Jedi Order. If they should remain in this war, or if they should be kicked out of the Republic, or, even worse, marked for execution by treason in the highest degree. Meanwhile, inside the Jedi Temple, in the upper chamber of the High Jedi Council, Anakin stands in front of the frivolous members of the High Jedi Council. Regarding Anakin's actions that they may have just cost the Jedi their lives or their freedom, Anakin is swayed down the middle of half the council agreeing with his actions and the other half do not. Yoda, being the wisest of them all, explains that we cannot allow this type of stuff to continue to bother us. If the allegations were true and Palpatine was the Sith Lord, then Anakin was just doing what the prophecy foreseen. However, it is up to the Senate to decide what Anakin's fate would be. Knowing that Anakin has powerful members of the Senate, unbeknownst to the Jedi Council, but known to a few, Padme Amidala, his wife, being a senator in the delegation of 2000 who was going to ask Palpatine to step down from his emergency powers as Chancellor, she would be the leading front in Anakin's case for innocence. With the votes finally being tallied in, Mas Amedda arises and pushes his staff to the ground, calling for order inside the judiciary branch of the Senate. Also, being one of the high members of Palpatine's Security Council, he had access to all 150 contingency orders by the clones. So, he looks through the list and finds the order he's looking for, Order 66. In this case, under this directive, any and all Jedi leadership must be executed for treason against the Republic. Any soldier who does not comply with the order will also be marked for treason and will be subjected to execution by the Grand Army of the Republic. As Order 66 starts to go around, multiple clones start to turn their attention from the battle ahead for the droids and start to take aim at the Jedi generals. Multiple Jedi are gunned down within just a few seconds of the order being given. Masameda also sends a battalion of clones to the Jedi Temple to stop any Jedi from leaving the temple and any Jedi who are coming in from the temple to be executed. Padme meets with Senator Organa regarding the fact that the Jedi are being hunted down for something that they did not do. Yes, the evidence does point that Anakin did kill Palpatine, who was unarmed, but the audio recording would have proved more. However, there was no audio recorded inside the Chancellor's office. So, her task was to form the delegation of 2,000 to get Palpatine out of office, but something else happened to him beforehand. Organa and Padme were both loyal to the Jedi. Padme had her other reasons for being loyal, but Organa has always found friendship with the Jedi, so he agreed with Padme that Order 66 could be cancelled if the majority of the Senate agreed to get the clones to stop hunting down their Jedi generals. Padme, alongside with Bail Organa, make their case to the Senate to try to put a vote in motion to get the clones to stop hunting down the Jedi and resume the conflict ahead, or better yet, just to create a ceasefire to stop conflict and end the Clone Wars once and for all. Delegation of 2,000 is a very powerful force, with multiple senators coming to an agreement to stop the hunt of the Jedi, seeing that the Jedi may have done nothing wrong, and put a further investigation into who Palpatine really was. Meanwhile, Palpatine loyalists did not see it that way. The Senate finally comes to an agreement to allow a vote to be held and to decide whether the clones will stop hunting down the Jedi or if they shall continue. Meanwhile, back inside the quarters of the Jedi Temple, Anakin is still lost in his emotions and wondering what may happen to him. The vote was a success, and the clones are ordered to stop hunting down the Jedi. Just as being a Jedi in this galaxy wasn't a crime, being a Sith wasn't either. Now, in the days of the Old Republic, if you were a Sith, you were considered a criminal, but those laws have all changed. The further investigation into Palpatine's office did conclude that he was the Sith Lord, and that the Jedi were acting not in their own interests, but in the interests for the Republic. Seeing that a man of a Sith Lord becoming an absolute dictator towards the people of the Republic uses power and war to gain power for himself, not for the people he serves. After the Senate's vote, the Coruscant Guard is tasked to arrest Masameda and Admiral Tarkin for treason, not for just supporting Palpatine, but for knowing what his plan was and not coming forward. They envisioned the Empire, and Palpatine promised them high roles within his Empire, knowing that he probably wouldn't have kept him in the first place. And with that, that finally concludes our What If Palpatine was killed by Anakin. Now, I've had the idea of me doing this. Like I said in my previous video, I really enjoy doing these what ifs because Revenge of the Sith is full of a bunch of plots that you can change anything and change the entire story of the movie. Now, again, if you guys enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you guys are interested. And with that being said, hyperspace out.